Yo, what is up guys? Grim here. So today is the day that Bestiary League got announced, and wow, it looks pretty cool. Definitely pretty excited for it. And today's video is going to be going in depth about everything we've seen, all the information released. We're going to analyze it all and kind of see where the league's going to take the game and kind of if we like it or not. So I got the league trailer playing in the background here if you haven't seen it yet. We're going to go over just a few things initially. I've read all of the interviews and I do have like a bit of a Google Docs here that I've got whipped up with kind of a summary of everything. And I'll link that down below. So it's going to have all the links to all the interviews and stuff like that if you want to read it. So just to get into it initially, basically the whole idea behind the league is that there's going to be these beasts which we find in the wild or in maps and stuff like that. You're going to be able to attack them and then throw a net at them, which will capture them and send them to basically your own personal zoo, in which they'll be kept in cages and stuff like that. And then with those beasts, you can find different combinations of them and then combine them for different crafting recipes, which we'll go over in a second. And then you can fight them all at once, and if you kill them successfully, then you'll get the reward from that crafting recipe. If you fail, then you're going to lose those beasts, and you'll have to go back out into maps and capture a new set. So basically, it's going to be a little bit like Monster Hunter. You're going to find different beasts in the wild, capture them, and you're going to try and get the ones that you want so that you can do the crafting recipes that you want. So that's kind of the league in a nutshell. A lot of people said it doesn't sound too interesting. In terms of how it relates to the main gameplay mechanics in PoE, it doesn't seem to really gel too much with like mapping and all that stuff. But I think it still could be pretty fun. I think crafting's pretty fun. And while capturing the beast might not sound too much fun, I think the crafting will be rewarding enough to kind of motivate people to do it. So let's get straight into it. As we can see here, the trailer's just winding up now. And I'm going to have a Google Docs here full of all the stuff we're going to talk about here. So just to start out with, the kind of UI behind the whole Bestiary League is that we're going to get a bit of a book, which I'm sure you saw in that trailer there, or if you haven't checked out any of the interviews. It's basically a book which is going to have every single kind of beast type creature in PoE in it. And as you capture them, they're going to get added to the book. It's kind of going to be a bit of a collection guide for all of your beasts that you capture. And I believe that's also where we're going to see how many we contain. So in our what's called the menagerie, which is basically your zoo where all your beasts is stored, you can have up to 5 of each different type of beast, it seems. So there's going to be some kind of limit. So generally you don't want to fill up on like trashy ones like white mobs. You probably want to be going for like rares and unique mobs for each different types of the beasts. Okay, so when we get into it, the beast book is going to be divided into what looks like kind of sections. So the wilds is going to be all your felines, primates, and all that stuff. That's not too important, I don't think. It's just like kind of UI stuff. There's 40 legendary beasts, which are kind of unique monsters, and then 250 different regular beasts as part of the Bestiary book. So Chris Wilson said in a lot of interviews that the legendary beasts are kind of going to be what everyone's going after. The regular beasts are more for kind of acts 1 to 10 leveling kind of players who don't really get heavily into the end game. If you want to craft any of the more advanced recipes, it sounds like you're going to need a bunch of legendary beasts. And in the interviews, he said that you're going to run into a few, like a handful of them in an average play session. So they won't be too rare. However, he has said that the really rare ones are kind of you'll encounter them between 4 and 20 hours of gameplay. So there are going to be some very rare ones, I'm assuming, for the very rare recipes. And that's really good. I reckon that's nice to mix it up so that there is a few chase beasts that we need to capture for the really high quality recipes. So that's really cool. Again, so when you're out in the wild and you find something you want to capture, you're going to have a new skill. I'm assuming it's going to be either a skill gem or just something that you get standard when you talk to someone. You're going to be able to bind that to your skill bar. It's going to be the electric net kind of thing, which you're going to throw at beasts. It seems like you can just throw it when it's on full life and then damage it down, and then it kind of captures when it gets low enough life. That seems to be what GGG is telling us. In a lot of Reddit posts, people were complaining that if they one-shot monsters and stuff like that, it's going to be a problem. I'm still kind of concerned about that because I play a lot of like kind of clear speed builds. Like if you're playing like Cosplay Discharge and you're shield charging all over the place, how are you ever going to capture anything? Because you just one-shot everything. So that's a bit of a concern. Hopefully they've thought of a way to make that not a problem. But yeah, we can't really tell about that until we actually play the league. I'm sure that they've thought of all that and capturing beasts is going to be a really fun experience, and no one's going to have too much trouble with it, hopefully. The worst case scenario is it's basically going to be a league full of Varici missions where it's get the target to low life and keep it there kind of thing. But I really hope they didn't go with that. A lot of people have showed concern for that, so I'm sure they still have a little bit of time to tweak that. So after you capture the beast, the new NPC, don't remember his name, comes out of a portal and sucks them into your zoo, and that's where you get to craft with them, basically. You would have seen that in the trailer, and there's a bunch of footage of that as well in the interviews that I've listed down below here for you guys. So that's pretty cool. You're going to go out, you're going to hunt monsters, and you're going to be able to use them in crafting recipes. So I looked through all of the footage, and these are all the crafting recipes I could find through the footage. So we're going to kind of go over them here and have a bit of a chat about them. So the first one here is corrupt an item guaranteeing the implicit mod outcome. So if I remember correctly, this one required 4 unique beasts. So basically you're going to be out there, you're going to be searching for those unique beasts, the rare ones, which there's 40 of, and you're going to be finding specific ones for this recipe. So I'm assuming they're going to be pretty rare because it says it guarantees the implicit mod outcome. So let's say you have a chess piece. The way I understand it is you'll be able to throw that in the crafting section there and do the arena thing. So you put the beasts in there, you fight them, you kill them, and then if you succeed, you'll come out of there and you'll be able to choose the corrupted implicit you want. So if you've got a bow, you'll be able to choose +1 projectiles, chess piece, +1 skill gems, kind of stuff like that. So that's extremely powerful because you can just get any 6-link and completely basically forego all of the crafting costs which were associated with corrupting items to get +1. So that one's going to be a really expensive one to do, I think. And the rare beasts are probably going to be super rare, I would imagine. So that's definitely a very powerful one. There's going to be a lot of it seems like beginner player ones sprinkled in here. So creates a mirrored copy of a flask and a map. That's kind of for new players. I'm not too sure why you'd want to mirror a map, but sure, I guess so. Receive new prophecies, up to 5 new prophecies. I guess that's pretty cool, but that's just like 5 silver coins. So again, not too cool. I think you'd be better off just ignoring all the beasts for this recipe and just buying silver coins with the currency you make from maps. Sealing all prophecies, again, doesn't seem too interesting. You'll just be, unless the beasts are kind of things that you're going to pick up anyway and you just have lots of, it just seems like why wouldn't you just do the map and then buy the currency for silver coins and just do it that way. Unique things like this and the corrupted thing, I think, is why people and myself are going to use the system. Create an imprint of a magic item. So basically what you do is you spam a bunch of alterations on the item you want, like an axe or a bow or something, and you get the 2 like high rolls that you want, like physical and like percent physical, so like flat fizz and percent fizz, tier 1, and then you'd be able to imprint on that item. And I'm sure there's going to be some crazy services like, here's my double tier 1 magic item crafting base. You can imprint it, but there's a fee associated. That's probably going to be something to do with that because obviously these crafting bases are very expensive, very sought after. So the imprint thing I can see being used a lot, and I think that's going to also be those really rare magic or unique beasts or whatever they are. All of the create item with I think are going to be pretty much not used ever, purely from the fact that creating an item without any stats on it isn't too useful. You're basically creating a base, and then why would you ever create a base when you have Elder and Shaper bases which you can craft on already? So that's kind of the way I look at it, unless this is a straight up augment onto an already like existing item. So let's say you could get your 6-link Vol's Protector and then put it in there and get 2 white sockets on it. Like that would be pretty cool, but I don't think that's what it's talking about. I think it's actually creating a new item, like an item base, as a result of like completing the arena that you put the beast into. I've seen kind of in the footage, some of the create item things seems to drop an item on the floor, so I think that's how these things work. So you're getting basically a base with 2 or 1 white sockets in it. Not too interesting, unless it can be on Elder or Shaper bases or anything like that. Again, create a flask. I think these are more leveling things. Again, superior movement skill gem, not so much. This one's super interesting though, because you can get a rare item or any item really which has some tier 1 mods on it, and you can kind of roll a dice on this one and split it, and hopefully the 2 tier 1 mods go on to one half and the other half is the crappy mods. So the way I look at this is it's kind of like a super annulment orb. you have the chance to rip off a bunch of mods at once and put all the good ones on another one. So this one could be pretty fun. It's, again, really unique to this league, so there's nothing like this in the game. You can't do this really any other way apart from with the Nullman Orbs. So I guess it's pretty cool. It's high risk, high reward. You can completely destroy the item, or you can make a really good item to craft on even more, so that's pretty cool. Another one here is add a mod. This says to a map. However, I wouldn't be surprised if it's going to be also add a mod to a rare item, which would make it basically slamming an item, which would be pretty cool. So instead of grinding up exalts, you could, if it's efficient, grind up beasts and then slam that way. That could be pretty cool. But right now, all we know about is adding a mod to a map, which no one's ever going to do really, because they can just tower spam the map or just scour it. So that's probably never really going to be used, unless you've got a really crazy map. Like, I can't even think of a situation where you'd want to use this and not just scour it, because you have to keep in mind that each one of these recipes requires up to 4 beasts, which you have to capture out in the wild. We don't know how easy it is to capture them. You might just be able to spam the trap and get a ton of them, but it also might be like 1 per map kind of thing, which would be a little bit disappointing. We'll just have to see about that. But basically, all these recipes are going to depend on how openly available the beast material really is and how time-consuming and difficult it is to use the mechanic. But yeah, these things, they seem for like newer players, but even newer players I don't think would want to use that kind of stuff. Reroll socket colors. So it's basically a chromatic orb. The one time I think this could be interesting is if it rerolls corrupted items. That could be pretty cool. So it's kind of like a cheat way to use Verici 8 at the start of the league. That could be really useful. But other than that, I don't think that's going to be too useful because it's just chromatic orbs. Unless it gives you specific fixed kind of results. But I didn't see that in any of the screenshots. So that's a bit of a question mark there. This one's interesting though. So create a rare map. The mods isn't too interesting, but just create a rare map. So basically what this does is it takes the level of the beasts and it's going to create a map based on the level. In the video, the guy hovered over the tooltip and it actually said specifically that it bases it on the level of the beast you get. So if you go into a high level map, you can kind of cheat progression a little bit on the Atlas with this one. So if you've got a T15 map and you're trying to get another T15 map which you don't have yet, you can use this one to capture mobs from that other T15 map you do have, combine them all together, fight them, and then maybe get a different T15 map from this one. That's pretty cool. I do like that quite a lot. It's kind of like the Horizon Orb a little bit from Harbinger League. Again, creating this stuff with a mod on it, I guess so. It's rare though, so it's basically just like IDing a shield which had a life roll on it. Again, creating a rare item. These feel like leveling kind of things. So if you're going through Acts 1 to 10, GGG always state that they like to have the league apply to all kinds of players. So someone playing through the story, these might be really useful for you if you're trying to just cap out your fire res or cold res or something like that. Maybe these are really fun and cool for you guys, but in terms of an endgame player, I don't think you're going to be using these too much, but that's okay. Leveling players are going to have to get through the content somehow and enjoy the Bestiary League as well. So I think this is perfect for what they're trying to go for. And then finally here, this is kind of like, it feels like the Orb of Binding from Harbinger League. So basically you just create a socketed item with 4 links. Again, this is for players leveling through Acts 1 to 10. I don't think this is meant to apply to people in maps. So yeah, that's still pretty cool. If you can get this in like Act 3 or 4, that would be really nice as well. Like, get a few 4 links going. Other than that though, I think they've showed off a couple really cool ones here, but the rest are kind of for the Acts 1 to 10 kind of thing. I don't think the others are going to be too used in endgame. However, they are pretty cool in general. I would really like to see some sort of other systems, like specifically to kind of upgrading items instead of just crafting them from scratch. Kind of similar to the corruption here. I think it's really cool. The way to add an additional mod through slamming would make the system pretty interesting as well. Basically what I'm getting at here is, as long as, if there's no good rewards associated with the system, no one's going to use it. So we do need to have some pretty good crafting options. They've revealed a couple here, but I think we do want to see a few more to really get the system going. There are obviously other rewards from the system, which we'll get to in a little bit. So they're adding 3 new skill gems, which is, I guess, pretty cool as well. None of them really jumped out at me in terms of kind of really cool skills which I would want to use. Probably the closest one which I'd consider using is the Spectral Throw Shield, but even that, it didn't really kind of look too interesting to me. So just to kind of go over it, this one, it's based on your shield attack. I'm going to give my opinion, I guess. You throw out your shield and it explodes, basically. For mapping, this could be pretty good, but it is a projectile, so you're going to throw it out. I'm not sure when it detonates or anything like that. If it's when it hits a monster, it's not great, because you really want it to explode on you, kind of getting that Nova effect. But in general, I think this one will probably not be used too much unless it's for the memes. Maybe it's really good for single target damage, but I guess we'll just have to see about that one. This one does seem pretty interesting as well. However, it suffers from the kind of age-old problem of you have to link it with another skill. So basically the way this one works is you have an attack skill, and then you link this to the attack skill, and then the minions benefit from all the support gems on it. The problem with it, though, is it's never going to be able to go higher than a 5 link because of the attack skill that needs to be linked with it. So basically it's a 5 link versus all the other skills which are a 6 link, and that's a bit of a problem. You can kind of get away with this if you put it on another summon skill, but if you're putting it on anything like Cyclone or Tornado Shot or anything like that, it's going to be difficult to line up the support gems with the minions because you're going to want minion damage and minion speed and stuff like that on it, whereas you don't want that on the bow skill. So it's going to be a bit of an interesting skill. Chris Wilson said they have no expiry date really, it's just when they're killed, so that could be pretty interesting. I'm sure someone will make some crazy build with it, possibly similar to Animate Weapon. Animate Weapon was pretty powerful, and if they're on that power level, then I can see it being used for some sort of a boss killer, especially in breaches. And then the last one is Tectonic Strike. This honestly just looked like Ground Slam to me, so I'm sure there's some sort of nuance which makes it a bit different to Ground Slam, but yeah, it did look a lot like Ground Slam. So I'm sure that one will be interesting to kind of get a full read up on that. We didn't get the tooltip for that, so I'm hoping it's a little bit different to Ground Slam, but yeah. So in terms of endgame content, stuff you're actually going to be killing and doing, they've added 4 new bosses for the league, and then they've also added Uber Elder and a new Act 10 boss. So immediately you can kind of see they've got the full spectrum of players here. They made sure everyone has something new to kill or something like that. So in terms of new players playing through the story, you're going to get a new Act 10 boss. Most likely it's going to come with a new Pantheon power because it's the whole god theme, like you suck up all the powers, blah, blah, blah. And then hopefully it gives us a new skill point, which could be pretty cool. Give us a reason to do it. I'm really hoping it's not just you get a flask or something like that. But yeah, that'll be pretty cool. The Pantheon power, hopefully it's really nice. And then the 4 new Spirit Beasts. With these comes the introduction of set bonuses. I personally think this is a really big mistake. I looked at the set bonuses and I'm going to bring them up now. And I think that it's definitely quite dangerous. So we'll go down here and we'll take a look here. These are the defensive set bonus. And basically what they've said is that they don't feel like people are going to be using a full set. However, I have no idea why you wouldn't use the full set. If you're investing in a mechanic and then the rest of the set builds on that mechanic, the mechanic is going to be either so powerful you don't need the rest of the set, or it's going to rely on having the rest of the set. And if it is so powerful you don't need the rest of the set and the rest of the pieces buff it, why wouldn't you just use the rest of the set? It's going to be like Abyssals, I think. Like you can start to see it in the Abyss League. You got the chest piece which builds on Abyssals, the helmet, the gloves, and the boots. And when you put them all together, basically they became kind of broken, stupidly overpowered, because the chest piece just kept giving you more percentage life per Abyssal you had, and it kind of got a bit out of control. Most of the like top end boss killer characters were wearing multiple pieces of the Abyss set, just because it was so powerful to have the Abyss jewels and the stacking bonuses that come from them. I do believe these are like worse than the Abyss set, like just looking at them. It looks very defensive, but that's fine. But as you can see, like immunity to bleeding is good, and then you've got stun immunity on the boots, I think it is. No, sorry, it was on one of them, the stun immunity. And basically all of them work together so that you can have that stun immunity up 100% of the time, stuff like that. So it does really look like you're going to be using the entire set. However, They have added something in to kind of prevent that a little bit, and that's going to be down below here in gear. We'll get to that in just a second. But they've also added the Uber Elder Fight, which was meant to be in 3.1, but they've added it in 3.2 here. We've finally got it, and this thing looks crazy. I think this is exactly what the game needed. It looks like solid endgame, kind of like tough stuff. Like basically you're fighting Shaper and Elder at the same time, and it does look really hectic. I think they're overselling it a little bit though. I don't think it's going to be the top 0.01% like they're saying. But I do think it does look very difficult, and it's going to be a really good goal for everyone to shoot for. And I do believe as well that the Reward is very good. I think a tier 16 Shaper Orb, which is basically what it is the perfect incentive to push people to kind of finish the end game. Not only is it a Shaper's Orb, but it lets you use it on any map in the game, which is crazy. If we just bring up this website over here, you can just check out the maps in the game. What that's going to allow us to do is basically choose any of the maps in the game and use that as our end game kind of farming spot. Not only that, but it's also going to give you the best experiences in the game, and it's also going to give you the most difficult content in the game after you've shaped that map up. So you're going to be able to do really stupid stuff with it. You can look at the maps which have the highest white sextants. So white sextants are the most easy to obtain, and they're also the kind of cheapest on the market. So you're going to basically use your tier 16 orb on a map which has the most white sextants. So you're looking at Strand and stuff like that. Channel's probably going to be pretty popular for it. And you're probably going to park your Elder and Shaper influence on it and just farm the hell out of that, which could be pretty cool. I really enjoy min-maxing, so finding the best map to put my T16 Shaper's Orb or Elder Orb or whatever it's called on will be really fun for me. I'm looking forward to doing that. So that's going to be the most fun thing for me in this league is finding out which map's the best to put the Orb on. And again, they've got these the new Spirit Beasts, which are basically the new bosses in the league. They got 4 of them, a Tiger, Crab, and then 2 unknown ones. The Crab is basically the defensive one. I'm assuming the Tiger is going to be the offensive one, and then the other 2 I'm not too sure. I'm sure there's going to be a Spellcaster one, and then probably some sort of a Summoner one. That just seems to be how they go with these things. You can see the same with the Abyss Jewels. So that's going to be pretty cool. Apparently you can capture these beasts as well and use them in crafting. I'm sure there's going to be some ridiculously powerful crafting recipes associated with these bosses. So it does sound like they're going to be worth farming. The way you access these is good. It's not associated with RNG, thank God. Abyss League was terrible like that. But basically you capture beasts, which you then fight. And then after you fight them in your arena, it needs to be a specific combination. It's basically a crafting recipe. You open up a portal, you go through the portal, and then you fight the boss. And then you can capture that, and then you can use that in crafting. So it's pretty cool. Definitely gives you a bit of an incentive to capture beasts in the mapping kind of stage of the game, and those boss fights look really fun as well. So you've got basically 5 new endgame bosses and a new Act 10 boss. Again, gives everyone something new to play, which is really good. So this is the part which really gets me the most excited about every new league is the new gear, because that's kind of like what you get to build your characters around. However, it is a little bit sad because I do believe that none of these items are going to be too relevant just because of the power creep we saw in the last league with Shaper and Elder items, Abyss items like Light Poacher and stuff like that. And then the fact that we have to use so much Magic Find items in mapping when you're on a mapper. I think a lot of these uniques are really going to struggle to find a place in a lot of builds unless people are trying to do meme builds or build around things. But in terms of the top tier builds, I don't see too many of the new unique items getting in, especially if they're all based on sets, because using a set of items is not going to be like worth it when you're giving up so much Magic Find unless there's a Magic Find set. So I'm pretty sure that sets are going to be relegated to boss killing characters and kind of characters who aren't too interested in magic finding, which is a bit sad. I really wish they'd remove Magic Find from the game so that we can use more items, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. So 30 new faded uniques, which are basically tied to prophecy, so it's basically an excuse to buff a bunch of old uniques. 16 new league uniques, that's the set items, so there's 4 pieces of gear in each set. And then 29 new unique items, some I'm assuming are from the Elder. Chris Wilson went on to say that a lot of the Uber Elder items are going to be really powerful, so I'm assuming they're going to be pretty strong. However, what I read from them, and you can see them on Reddit right now, I believe there's a quiver and a staff. They didn't seem too overbearingly powerful. However, they each have unique like abilities that activate on something that you do in the game, so perhaps those are what make them powerful. And then finally, they're adding new Bestiary mods to rare and magic items. So basically, you're going to be able to craft these on rare items, and they're going to synergize with the set bonuses. So I guess the idea behind this is that you can forego some of the set bonuses to use rare items, allowing you to make Shaper and Elder set bonus items. The example that we got of this is on the kind of announcement page. I'll bring this back up here. You can see down here that this amulet has what's called Aspect of the Cat, which is part of the set bonus of the cat set. So you can kind of mix and match with rare items as well. I do really like this. However, I don't like the idea of set bonuses in general. I think it takes a bit away from customizing your character. I don't think that you should have an Aspect of the Cat build that just basically relies on using all the set bonus pieces. I think that's kind of a bit off. That's just me personally, though. I'm sure a lot of people have a lot of fun with it. So that's pretty cool. And then finally, we've got a massive Ascendency Overhaul. I don't think this really makes too much of a difference. There's still going to be a best class. In terms of the meta, I think you're still going to have a clear speed meta. There's no way around that unless they remove clear speed skills like Shield Charge and Whirling Blades and stuff like that. So there will be a best class. Everyone's going to play that class. However, what we can hope for from the Ascendancy Overhaul is that they add some pretty good flavor to the rest of the classes and kind of carve out a niche for each Ascendancy. So things like the Saboteur has traps and mines, Elementalist has golems. If there's a specific job for each of the different Ascendancies, I would see that as a success for GGG. But in terms of kind of class balance, you're never going to get like a full pie chart with each class getting a piece. It's just not the way it's going to work. There's going to be a best clear speed build. There's going to be a best boss killer build, etc. But if you want a certain playstyle, I think the Ascendancy Overhaul is going to be a really good thing for you because I think it's going to allow more kind of diverse options in terms of having fun with builds. It's not going to diversify the best builds, but it's going to diversify having fun with builds, I think. So that's really good. Down here, I've got all the kind of interviews which I found. I've read them all, and kind of they all say basically the same thing: how the league works, and that it's the biggest league ever. In terms of my opinion on the league, I think in general it's not for me. I'm not a big fan of capturing and stuff like that. I don't think it's going to be too fun for me. My basic idea of PoE and how I have fun with it is killing lots of monsters, killing lots of massive packs of monsters all at the same time. Maybe some hard ones thrown in there, so kind of like beyond bosses and stuff like that. I have found really fun. But this doesn't really resonate too much with me. I don't think it's going to be too fun, kind of meandering around the map, kind of trying not to kill things, trapping it, and hopefully it didn't die. Hopefully I caught it, kind of thing. That doesn't really sound too fun to me. Maybe the unique beasts, the rare ones, will be fun if they've got a lot of mechanics. You can go in there and like kind of dodge the mechanics, burn them down, and then trap them. Maybe that's kind of fun, but that sounds an awfully lot like Invasion. And Invasion wasn't the most fun league, in my opinion. It just didn't feel great. And now there's also, you have to keep the mob alive on top of Invasion. Yeah, I don't know. The crafting does seem pretty cool. I think they've put a lot of effort into the menagerie and the UI for that. I think some of the crafting options sound pretty cool. I think a lot of the new uniques look pretty cool. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the set bonuses, but I think the idea behind the mechanics are pretty cool. Hopefully the trapping isn't terrible. That's the one thing which this whole entire league kind of revolves around. And if it's terrible, it's just going to suck. The rewards also need to be fantastic from the trapping, otherwise people just aren't going to do it. I think what it's going to boil down to is a certain amount of players are going to do the league content, and players like me are just going to farm maps like normal, and we're just going to buy all of the league content off those other players. So I think that's a bit disappointing, unless they make it really lucrative to use the new mechanic. But ultimately, I think it's going to boil down to what I just said, like people running Vault if it's still like that, and just spamming those out, getting currency and buying the unique item sets of players. One thing I will point out though is that all of the new crafting and the system, you actually can't buy any of it from other players. So if you want to craft that corrupted item, like let's say you wanted a Wind Ripper with +1 arrows, you would need to craft that yourself to get that guaranteed corruption implicit. Similarly, if you want to get that splitting effect or the imprinting effect, you need to do that yourself. However, the effect that these crafting mods are going to have on the market is it's just going to make these crafting items much more plentiful. So +1 wind rippers are going to be much cheaper because they're just much more accessible through this league mechanic. So again, if you're farming maps, you're just going to be able to buy a +1 wind ripper much cheaper than you otherwise would. So I think that's kind of how it's probably going to play out. The things that I'm most excited for is the Ascendency changes. Possibly, hopefully, I really hope they update the Atlas a little bit. I don't want to do Vault the whole league or anything like that. The T16 Shaper's Orb sounds really cool, or Elder Orb, sorry. I'm really excited to min-max that and see what maps I can do with that and find the best one for that. And again, I think the divination cards, the 10 new divination cards could spice it up a bit as well. Hopefully they put some really interesting and good ones in some different maps. I'm really hoping maybe they add a reliquary key divination card. I've been hoping for that for a while. I think that would add a lot of endgame longevity to the game. And finally, I do like the idea of the new Uber Elder fight. I think it could be pretty fun to try out. I was very disappointed with the Red Elder fight. That was a big letdown. You basically just walk in there and one-shot him. So this Uber one, it sounds like a bit of a challenge, and the items do look pretty interesting. So that should be good. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed my breakdown of an analysis of the new league. It does look interesting, however, I think it's going to be more of how it plays. I don't think you can judge it too much from just what we've seen. It definitely does look like it's going to be a bit of fun to play around with, though. Thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed this long video. There will be a lot more content coming up. I've just had a bit of a tough life at the moment, a lot of stuff going on, but I will be back in action for Bestiary League and all of that stuff. So again, hopefully you guys are having a great time with PoE and are excited about the new league, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers, guys.